And we have with us today Colonel Obasanjo, and unfortunately the other field commanders are not able to be with us at this moment. But we have Colonel Obasanjo, who is the commander of 3 Marine Commando, who have been able to capture a number of senior secessionist officers, and he had brought them to Lagos to see us in order to let us have their acceptance of the spirit of one Nigeria.
To formally give up secession and report for reappointment and redeployment.
Your Excellency.
Glad to see you again.
My pleasure.
How are you?
Very well indeed.
Glad to see you again. Thank you.
Patrick Amadi.
How are you?
Excellency.
Glad to see you again.
Thank you very much.
Glad to see you again.
It's an experience.
Honestly. Glad to see you again.
And I would like, therefore, to take this opportunity to say that I, Major General Philip Effiong, officer administering the government of the Republic of Biafra, now wish to make the following declaration. That we affirm we are loyal Nigerian citizens and accept the authority of the federal military government of Nigeria. That we accept the existing administrative and political structure of the Federation of Nigeria. That any future constitutional arrangement will be worked out by representatives of the people of Nigeria. That the Republic of Biafra hereby ceases to exist.
To do what he did. Do you agree with what Gowon is saying?
I will never agree with that, because that is a blatant lie from the pit of hell. How can Gowon at this age of about 90 years be lying? How can he say he didn't cause the war? See, Ojukwu declared Biafra. Gowon declared war and brought the war to us in the east. And so he pushed us to the wall. And when he pushed us to the wall, we had no choice than to fight back. Because he had the mission to annihilate us. And we had to resist him. That is it. So if he said he didn't cause the war, he's a liar. He caused the war. He hired more than 12 nations, about 12 nations, foreign nations, to fight just the east. Already he has the Yorubas, the west, with him, fighting against us. But that was not enough. Britain was there, fighting against us. Because that's the main enemy of Igbos and Biafrans.
Even now?
Till now, yes, Britain is. Because of our crude. So, they put hands together, put heads together to fight us, to annihilate us, so that the oil can be theirs. Why would Gowon say he didn't declare the war? Well, then who brought the war? Who declared the war? Evidently, Ojukwu declared Biafra for the safety of Igbos and their eastern brothers. They were killing us everywhere. They were killing us in the police barracks, in the army barracks, naval barracks, air force barracks. They were killing us everywhere. Every peaceful move that Ojukwu made failed. To the extent that they had to go to Aburi, Ghana. You understand? And they had an accord, which is popular. The Aburi Accord. The agreement there was regional government. Let every region control their resources. And Ojukwu signed, Gowon signed. Oba of Benin was the Secretary of Civil Service then. He was part of that team. When they came back from Aburi, it was the Secretary to the federal government, Oba of Benin, the Secretary of the Civil Service, Oba of Benin, that advised Gowon against that Aburi Accord. He told him that if we practice regional government as it was, agreed in Aburi, that the country would divide. Then Gowon betrayed the Aburi Accord and declared war. Went across Africa and hired Fulanis to kill us. You understand? I was a Pashoko's child. I suffered Pashoko. I was 4 years old when the war broke out in 1966-67. So it is something I witnessed. I know how God saved me and my family, myself, my younger sister Shinwe, my younger brother Benjamin. We three had kwashoko. It was only my senior brother who didn't have even headache. And my mother was taken out from one hospital to the other. And you could see Nigerian fighter jets bombing everywhere. I know how many times we escaped death at Odata Hospital in Yala, where they were bombing.
You were a witness.
Yes, it's not something I read on the book or somewhere. I am a living witness. So if Gowon said he didn't cause it, he's causing more provocation on every Easterner.
So he's lying.
He's lying.
Is it that Gowon, let's say, is trying to avoid is trying to avoid him begging the Southeasterner? Do you think that he's saying it out of pride, or he's saying it as if he doesn't want to blame himself?
He's the one who knows what is pushing him to lie at this age. If he die with this lie, he will go to hellfire. Because no single liar will enter heaven.
You don't agree that he was doing it for the unity? Like he wanted a one
What
Nigeria.
unity? Anyone who wants the unity of Nigeria will do the right thing. And what is the right thing? Break away from this evil political system that has gone to every nook and cranny of this country and taken by force what belongs to the people and take it to Abuja. And is now giving the people peanuts. It is a shame. The system we're practicing here is a corruption generator. And there's nothing this system can do only than generating corruption. Because how can you take what belongs to the people to Abuja, and then you get to Abuja, the federal force is massively rich. And these criminally minded politicians are stealing and stealing and stealing, and it is as if the thing is not finishing because it flows. It's golden money, it's oil money, it flows in trillions, and they're stealing it in trillions. Why the owners of the resources are dying in poverty? Imagine a bag of rice being sold up almost 100,000 naira. Imagine that you give your child 500 naira, the child cannot feed with it. Imagine the list. If you take 1,000 naira to a booker, you cannot feed well. A pint of gari used to be 300 naira. Half pint used to be 150. How much is it now? We can't buy beans, we can't buy yam, we cannot buy pepper, we cannot a 25 liter of groundnut oil is now 70,000 plus. What the hell? What the hell? And the one is telling me unity. Does he know the meaning of the word unity? Does he value unity?
Can we be ever one in this country?
We are not one, and will never be one. Awolowo said it. Nnamdi said it. Tafawa Balewa said it after the amalgamation, that this amalgamation cannot work because we are too divided. We are too separate to be one. We cannot be one. He said we cannot. We are not one. Nigeria is a British idea. The amalgamation is a British idea. that they may bring us together for their own good so that they can mine our resources. You understand? And this thing has never worked. If you want to create a united country, after all, there is the United States of America, made up by 13 different countries. They came together and formed the United States of America. And every state is independent. Give the people independence. Even in one country, give them independence. If we had been practicing regional government or through federalism, where states control their resources and pay percent to the federal post for the maintenance of the federal structure, nobody will have problem. Look at it. When you talk about the high sea is in the east. Lagos hasn't got any high sea. Lagos has beaches. But Lagos is the only working port in Nigeria. Is that not crazy? When you talk about the belly of the high sea, you go to Calabar. You go to Port Harcourt. You go to Warri. And the seaports there are not working. Only the one in Lagos is working. And people are trooping in Lagos. And you can see an obvious overpopulation problem in Lagos. And the god of Lagos is not thinking about the problem that Lagos inhabitants are having because of the overpopulation. He considers only the economic, benefits of the population. Is that how to be a leader? Is that how to make people comfortable in one country? Is that unity? Gowon does not know what unity means. And he doesn't know how to provide it. So he shouldn't tell me unity, because he doesn't know what it is.
But should you go, so like somebody was saying on social media, should you go to every southeast region and possibly the middle belt to apologize as regards what's really happened? Should you go to every southeast state to apologize, to hold a town hall meeting with
the deed is done.
You feel that the art of
100 trillion sorry it's too late. Will you bring back about 10 million children that you killed? Will you bring back their life? Will you restore to us, Igbos, our houses you claimed as abandoned property all over Nigeria? Will you return our money that you seized in 1970 after the war in banks and give us 20 pounds that we may die of hunger? What useless sorry is that? The deed is done. He should accept that it cost the war. Whether he accepts or not, the record is there. Ojukwu declared Biafra for the safety of Igbos. He said, come home to our land so there can be a remnant of Igbos. With the speed they were killing us all over the place. And Gowon declared the war against Ojukwu and Biafrans. So he must take responsibility.
Well, and that point again, he said he was too young back then to know what it was. Do you think he was too young? I think it was 27 as at then.
From 18 years, you are an adult. And you will face the consequence of your offense. So at 27, he was a man. And that is not an excuse. All of them at that point were young. He was young, Ojukwu was young, Obasanjo was young, Babangida was young, Theophilus Danjuma was young. All of them were young men. But they brutalized us. So age has nothing to do with it. He committed arson. He committed pogrom against us. He killed innocent children. He killed innocent Biafrans. He killed innocent Igbo people. So as he's going to his grave, he should prepare himself and stop lying.
He's sitting in jail as we speak today. And I would really be delighted, and my job would be done, if a great number of you said, why haven't I heard about this before? Why isn't everyone talking about this? Why is this something that seems to only concern the Igbo people? Why don't we know about this injustice? Because I submit to you, there is no greater injustice right now on this planet than the continued unlawful incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu. Now, it's easy to say unlawful, and I'm a lawyer and I often say it. But in this case, we have not one and not two, but three separate panels, judicial panels, that have said his arrest, his rendition, and his continued incarceration are absolutely illegal. Not because it's not a good idea, not because we don't like it, not because he's the leader of our people or the leader of people that we favor. The Nigerian courts applying Nigerian law made that determination not once, but twice. You have two court judgments. It's so obvious that said he must be released immediately. He must be returned to his place of citizenship, which is Britain, and he must be paid 1 billion naira or 500,000 naira, depending on the court. The United Nations has looked at this case and determined that there are rampant, gross human rights violations, and they demand the immediate release. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu represents, just as Nelson Mandela represented his people, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu represents over 50% more people, 42 million as opposed to 28 million. So how can we not move mountains, do everything in our power possible as human beings to free Nnamdi Kanu?
Nigeria, but internationally, you have, I think, Imo and Anambra are number 4 and number 6 for GDP in Nigeria, and that was in 2021, which was a very violent year. So even amidst the violence, three of the 5 states in Southeast are in the top 12 for GDP per capita. In Nigeria, 73% said sometimes or always they were treated unfairly by the government. This is last year. This is the highest rate of any ethnic group surveyed in Africa. In their view, they are sometimes or always treated unfairly by the government.
So is the issue of injustice?
It is a deep grievance, and it's a disconnect from the Nigeria project, as was mentioned earlier. And I mentioned that number just to underscore the underlying grievance that has to be addressed. So amnesty is potentially part of a package, but the disconnect has to be addressed, and the Southeast is a core pillar of the Nigeria project. Comes back to the discussion of its importance. So all of these issues that are being discussed are inherently political. They're being seen through a political lens. For example, infrastructure development. The grievance is you have a very productive region that is exporting not just to Nigeria, but internationally. You have, I think, Imo and Anambra are number 4 and number 6 for GDP in Nigeria, and that was in 2021, which was a very violent year. So even amidst the violence, three of the 5 states in Southeast are in the top 12 for GDP per capita, yet there's no seaport. The bridges are not good. The roads are not good. So it is a development and infrastructure issue, but it's seen through a political lens as a political grievance. The same with security, which is you have significant deployment of security forces, yet the perception is the DPOs are not from Southeast. Many of the officers are not from Southeast. They are not necessarily well-versed in the local context. And so they're not performing the role of community security in a way that they or other communities would expect. So that's a security issue, yes, but it's also perceived through a political lens. And it's the same with federal appointments and involvement in governance. So these are development, these are policy, these are economic issues, but they're seen through a broader political lens that they're not being kind of fairly adjudicated. And I think that's really important to underscore. So amnesty as part of a package may be a solution, but the underlying grievances have to be addressed with an understanding of the political perception, how the infrastructure problems, how the economic problems, how the security issues are perceived politically, and what it means to have more representative involvement in those efforts from a Southeast perspective. Yes, it has to be a multi-stakeholder approach. The sensitive issues have to be addressed, and there needs to be involvement of the key stakeholders as this initiative is doing. That being said, in contexts like this, you might not move everybody over. You might not convince everybody. But where you make a serious effort and where you provide legitimate avenues, you will see a significant reduction in popular grievance that draws down support for extremism and makes it very difficult to operate. So a multi-stakeholder approach doesn't immediately solve all the problems, but it changes the trajectory, and it moves a lot of the public into using or trying to use the legitimate mechanisms again, as opposed to staying on the sidelines or even supporting extremist activity. So it's where you need to start, and it's the direction that you need to go.
All right, so what do you think? Please do well to drop your comment on the comment section what you think about this video, right? I'll see you in my next video. Thank you, and God bless you.
My brothers and sisters of IPOB, I bring greetings from Indian soil. The Bible says that the Lord is my strength, and the victory comes from the Lord. Hallelujah. Amen. The wickedness of the injustice against the Biafran people and the critical analysis of the role of the Nigerian government and the international community. The Nigerian government and the wider world have a long history of treating the Biafran people, who are preliminary from the southeast of Nigeria, unfairly and wickedly. The objective of the report is to be critical analysis of the numerous types of injustice and evil that have happened with the Biafran people have endured, as well as the contributions of the Nigerian government and the international community to ensure the continuations of this injustice. The Biafran people have a long history of a political and economical dominance in the Nigerian before the 1960 independence. They also have a rich culture past. However, since Nigerian independence from Biafran from Britain in 1960, the Biafran people have experienced a huge marginalization and discrimination. This marginalization led the declaration of the Republic of Biafra in 1967, which sparked the brutal civil war that lasted until 1970. The war resulted in the death of over 5 million Biafrans, preliminary due to the starvation and disease. The political marginalization since the end of the civil war, the Biafran people have been systematically excluded from the key political position in Nigeria. This has led to the lack of representation and the feeling of disenfranchisement among the Biafran population. The economic injustice. The southern east region of Nigeria, where the Biafran people predominantly reside, is rich in natural resources, particularly oil. However, the Nigerian government has constantly exploited these resources without adequately investing in the development of this region. This has led in the widespread poverty, underdevelopment, and environmental degradation in the Biafran community. The Nigerian government has been accused for numerous human rights abuse against the Biafran people, include extrajudicial killing, torture, and forced disappearance. This abuse perpetuated by the Nigerian security forces and have intensified over the year due to the growing influence and the resultantness of the Biafran restoration movement, which seeks the self-determination and independence for the Biafran people in 2021. The leader of indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, which abducted from Kenya and was extraordinarily redemption from the Kenya to Nigeria against the international law. United Nations Working Group has ordered that Nigerian government to release Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally and compensate him appropriately for infringing on his rights. Yet, Nigerian government refuses to comply with these orders. Nigerian Appeal Court has discharged and acquitted Nnamdi Kanu for every count charges that Nigerian governments level against him. Yet, Nigerian government refused to release the leader of IPOB Nnamdi Kanu. The international community has largely turned a blind eye to the plight of the Biafran people during the Biafran War. Many countries, including the United States and the United Kingdom, etc., supported the Nigerian government to subjugate the Biafran people for providing them the military and the financial aid. This support enabled the Nigerian government to continue its brutal campaign against the Biafran people, resulting in the death of over 5 million people of Biafrans. In the recent year, the international community has continued to explore their economy and political interest in Nigeria as against the human rights and well-being of the Biafran people, despite humorous reports of human rights abuses by the Nigerian government. The international community has failed to take meaningful action to address these issues of wickedness. The Biafran people have faced a long history of injustice and wickedness at the hand of Nigerian government and the international community. It is very critical for the international community to recognize and address this injustice and to support the Biafran people in their quest of self-determination and independence as contained in the United Nations Charter. The independence of Biafra is long overdue. The more the international community is delaying the declaring Biafra as an independent nation, the more Africa will continue to be in the dark. As Biafra is the light bearer of the African continent, all honest nations and NGOs who are the lovers of freedom, justice, should support this restoration of Biafra. As in the end, I want to say, as injustice to one is injustice to all. God bless.
Igbo people under attack in the present Nigeria.
Yes.
Who is attacking them?
The federal government is attacking them.
Tell me more.
Okay. The Southeast geopolitical zone was destabilized by Abuja.
How?
Well, it started with police stations being attacked. You go to some place like Imo State, they attack the police station. The military, this thing is that of the Obins, they are just minutes away. Other military formations are there. They sack the prison. Nobody will do anything. All over the East.
Who was sacking the prisons, attacking the police stations?
Those people who were organized to attack those police stations and prisons were releasing prisons. That was where it started.
IPOB?
No, I'm not saying IPOB. I said those thugs who were attacking were doing those things. But the central point I'm making is that you can't have a government in place and they sack a police station today, no defense. They sack a second one tomorrow, no defense. They sack 10 police stations in the state, no defense.
Chief Iluagunam,
this thing
who was attacking the police stations? Is it IPOB?
You asked me that question. I said,
yes,
no, I don't attribute those attacks to them. The people who should have answered their question are the government functionaries who had the means and the wherewithal to counter those attacks. But that was leading to answering your question, the destabilization of the Southeast geopolitical zone. Okay. Now, when Buhari was military head of state, he organized with some ex-Israeli security agents to go and kidnap Umar Diko in London